Hi everyone and welcome in the last section of this course. In this section we're going to talk about testing in Go. We're not just going to focus on testing but also how we can use functional programming in itself in order to be a better tester. In this video we're going to have a look at some of the benefits of using functional programming code as well as have a look at some of different types of testing and focus a little bit on unit testing. So why should you test your code? So the first reason is that you are confident about your functionalities. So you really know that the functionalities are as advertised and everything's work perfectly, and besides that every corner case is taken into consideration. The second one is led to refactoring. So basically the more you start testing your code, and if you notice that some parts of your code, some functions are a little bit difficult to test, then you may reconsider to redesign or refactor your code in order to make testing easier. And it can lead to improvements on your code base as well. And besides that, another reason which I think is really important is that you are confident about adding new changes which are not going to break your system at all. So if in the future, for example, you want to add a new feature, then by testing your code you can have a look at how it interacts with other parts of your system. And if the code and test then passes, then you can use this feature on your system as well. And the last one, but not the least, is that can help you identify bugs in the early stages of development, so you don't have to wait till the end in order to deploy your application, for example, and let the end users to test it, but since the very beginning you can identify bugs and corner cases without waiting for further stages of development. Now, regarding software testing, there are two types of them. We have functional and non-functional. We're going to focus on functional testing in this section, and most importantly, one type of functional testing, which is unit testing. Now, there are different ways in order to do also functional testing, for example, integration testing, acceptance testing, and as well we have security testing, for example, or performance testing in order to test the performance and the usage of resources, but these are out of the scope of this course. In this course we're going to focus on unit testing in itself. Now, what is unit testing? Unit testing is a type of software testing which tests single units, so it divides and checks and tests only single units of code. For example, it tests a function, or if you have a lot of functions, then it tests them independently, and as well as how they interact together. It is really fast, not just to run your test, but also to test your code as well. And since you are focused on small pieces of your code and testing them, then it is really close to the source code too. Now, in order to do unit testing, you need to use mocks, fakes, or stubs. This may sound a little bit of some like fancy words, but mocks, fakes, and stubs themselves are just a way in order to mimic the behavior of real objects. So we have a control over them because sometimes it may be difficult in order, for example, to simulate a database connection or API call. So in those cases we can use mocks in order to mimic that behavior. I mostly use mocks and stubs, but you can have a look, for example, in the blog post by Martin Fuller and find some differences and why should you use each or the other. Till now we explained and talked a little bit about unit testing as well as testing in general. Now, when it comes to Go, Go has a really great standard library which supports testing in itself. Besides that, the standard library favors errors instead of assertions. Most probably you have used assertions if you have done testing, for example, in Java or in other programming languages. And as part of the standard library, there is test package for general purpose, as well as HTTP test, which is mostly used to test connections or to the server or HTTP requests. Besides standard library, we are also going to have a look at Testify, which is a third-party package but has some really great features, and it uses assertions, and besides that it has common mock functionalities as well.